I've never sold drugs. I've never used drugs. And to be labeled with even a queen pin, if I was the worst one in history. But thank God that my case came to the attention of President Trump, and he had compassion on me.
I listened through 6 jury trials, first-degree murder, where we went in great detail toward what this woman did. Witness after witness, person after person who was trying to get out from under a death penalty liability for taking out contract hits.
Are you sure it was her?
Yes.
Welcome back, Warriors. It's me, Linda B. Thank you all so much for joining me here today. Warriors, I've got something to share with you. I recently have done videos with Trump's pardon czar, Alice Marie Johnson. We got to talk about this because something has come up to my attention that someone commented on in one of my videos about Alice Marie Johnson. There's a reason why former President Obama did not pardon her. You are going to be shocked. We're talking about that today on Chat with Me, Linda B. All right, Warriors, you know what to do. Don't forget to smash the like button, comment, share, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Hit all notifications so that you never, ever miss a video that I post. And I kindly and respectfully ask for you to stick around to the very end of this very important video. All right, so I've done videos on Alice Marie Johnson, and she was given a second chance at life. President Trump pardoned her, gave her a full pardon in 2020. Just a full pardon. And now she is his pardon czar, and she's working with others to give them a second chance. And it's a beautiful story. I just did a video recently this week where she's being interviewed by Donald Trump's daughter-in-law, Laura Trump. So President Trump chose her as the pardon czar. And I thought, oh, wow, this is exciting. This is great. But something has come to my attention. Judge Joe Brown, and I got to say, you guys are familiar with Judge Joe Brown. He's got the mind of an elephant. He remembers everything. He remembers what he ate for breakfast in 1975, exactly where he was, what time it was, and what he was wearing, and what the weather was like. I mean, this man's memory is so keen, it is ridiculous. But he said something that really, really got to me about Alice Marie Johnson. And I got to say, I may not like what he says, but I found Judge Joe Brown to be extremely credible. Watch.
Absolutely the very last thing. And then
I don't want to deal with this Johnson matter.
Well, we are going to deal with it. It's just
the reason is I had at least 6 first-degree murder cases in my court where she was alleged to have taken the hit out because she kept her mouth shut in consideration of the Fifth Amendment. American law has a general provision that you cannot convict somebody on the uncorroborated evidence of an accomplice. Her lieutenants got prosecuted. The person that actually contracted to take the hit didn't. And she didn't either. But if you want to talk about crack babies and crackheads, allegedly she is responsible for most of that in the Southeast United States, from Florida, Chicago, from the late 1980s to the early 1990s.
All right, so I want to play this.
She's now in charge of pardons for Trump's administration. She's out of prison, pardoned, and most of her second lieutenants are all still doing penitentiary time. When they busted her, it was for possession of approximately $87 million in cash for the equivalent of 9 tons of street value coke. And it was the 3rd largest bust in DEA history at the time, now the 4th, I think. But Kim Kardashian presented it to President Trump as some poor little old grandmother trying to sell a bag of cocaine to protect her house. There were a whole lot of houses that she and her folk were in possession of that were allegedly used to launder money. So it was a big time scheme, and I don't agree with what happened in this.
Let me play this clip.
To become involved in something that I didn't think it would lead to this. I've never sold drugs. I've never used drugs. And to be labeled with even a queen pin, if I was the worst one in history. But thank God that my case came to the attention of President Trump, and he had compassion on me. He was the first one who really pulled back the layers to my case to say, this is wrong. I had appealed to President Obama 3 times and been turned down all 3 times. But when it came to President Trump, he is the reason I'm sitting here today.
You got the
to become.
So she says she never sold drugs.
I listened through 6 jury trials, first-degree murder, where we went in great detail toward what this woman did. Witness after witness, person after person who was trying to get out from under a death penalty liability for taking out contract hits.
Are you sure it was her?
Yes. Now, Kim Kardashian put this stuff out where it was just a little old lady, a grandmother. She was only 34 years old at the time, great grandmother age, you know, so she was trying to preserve her house. We went into the whole financial background. There were homicides by her rivals. See, one rival was the money exchange, dope exchange for the Colombian cartels, and the other one set was exchanging the money and drugs for the Mexican cartels. And this engine was driving the crack and cocaine epidemic from Miami all the way up to Chicago, to Atlanta, to Memphis, and other points. And it was hell going on in our communities. And the evidence that I heard implicated her and her rival on the other side. The thing that got in front of me that was the most profound was a sit where the other side was supposed to have had quite a few millions of dollars going through a safe house, a hit supposedly put up by her side to go raid this place. There were some people that worked for Krispy Kreme donuts who got kidnapped and stripped. The truck was hijacked. The uniforms were put on by allegedly her persons. They went in, and the mother for one of the other drug lords who supposedly had the money was a big fat woman who was known to have a craving for Krispy Kreme donuts. They offered the ploy that they had free samples. She opened up the ironclad doors, let them in. They jacked her up, jacked her husband up, tied them up. They took these pneumatic chisels to dig this safe out of the concrete. They only got a few $1,000s because they missed the millions by about an hour. They kidnapped the woman, took her, tortured her, left her dead body in the middle of a farm field down in Mississippi. The person that they were the person who was the target of this refused to cooperate with the police, had his organization go solve the crime, find mama's dead body. They wound up kidnapping some of her people, and allegedly her people, and they wound up not only kidnapping some of her people, they kidnapped her people's mothers, broke their mothers' legs in front of them. And while the mothers were screaming in pain, they buried them all alive under some coffins in a legit funeral, and they smothered to death. So we had cases going back and forth on each side. Her lieutenant operated a tire business that was up on airways by the 240 freeway, and they made a business of running cars outside of Memphis where they would swap the dope out from the mule cars so that they would have Memphis license plates, and Memphis would not, with their drug interdiction, interstate drug interdiction thing, bust the cars, which they got in a lot of trouble for doing with no probable cause. So there was a big mess going on.
Well,
and I had a bunch of these cases in my court. I didn't, but some of the other judges involved were getting escorted home with 5 and 6 SWAT cars every night with 4 of them parked around their house.
All right, so I'm saying to you saying all this and
what? Okay, wait a minute. Wait a minute. You know, I just did a video. Y'all saw the video. And that's the interview that I reacted to with pardon czar Alice Marie Johnson talking to President Trump's daughter-in-law, Laura Trump. She's married to Eric, and they were doing this interview on Fox, and she seemed very credible in that she never, one of the things, I will say this, even before I knew this information with Judge Joe Brown, I'm talking about a few days ago, I just found this out today, this right here, just today. Okay. And I said, I got to do a video on it. But days ago, I said, I wonder what the phone call was. I remember President Trump referring to the phone call, saying it was not a perfect phone call, that she got in trouble for a phone call. And she never said what the phone call was. And no one with the interviews that I've seen has ever asked her, what was it in the phone call that you said that ended you up in prison with a life sentence plus 25 years without the possibility of parole? And now in this clip, it says that Trump pardoned her, but President Obama, former President Obama, denied her 3 times. I'm thinking, see, yeah, the demon rats, they never really help Black people. She's innocent. I mean, she's not completely innocent, but it was a nonviolent thing, right? But this doesn't sound nonviolent. This sounds very violent. Breaking, this is alleged. This is alleged. I'm just saying what Judge Joe Brown is saying. I'm not saying this is true. I will say this. I respect Joe Brown and I find him credible. And I'm going to say this. I believe him. I believe Judge Joe Brown. I believe this looked like it was a mistake to pardon her. Because according to Judge Joe Brown, she allegedly called out hits on people to take them off this planet. Her people, burying people alive, breaking their legs, responsible allegedly for the drug epidemic from the 1980s to the early 90s, from Florida all the way up to wherever he said, Illinois or wherever. She allegedly is responsible for all of that, yet she is out and has a position in the White House. Now, I like President Trump. I don't think President Trump knows this. I really don't believe he's aware of it. I mean, look at who brought him the information. It was Kim Kardashian. Is she really credible? Not in my opinion, she is. She's not at all credible. I mean, look how she became famous. I'll leave it at that. This woman is not credible. And some background digging should have been done because, and for once, I actually agree with Obama for denying her 3 times. And if what Judge Joe Brown is saying is true, and I believe it is true, because he's too close to the situation. He was trying it. He said this was brought up 6 times with him in his courtroom. Dang, how did this get missed? This woman should not be out. I'm just going to say it. And I was falling for the little beautiful story. She sounded so eloquent. You know, I find Judge Joe Brown credible. I believe him. I believe this was a mistake on behalf of the Trump administration for doing this. Maybe they did not do their due diligence. Okay. I've always believed what Judge Joe Brown says. I mean, I do. I find him very well read. He was around during the time. He was there. So he would know better than any of us would know. Any of us, including President Trump. This is crazy. Tell me what you think in the comments. Do you believe Judge Joe Brown? Do you believe with this information, this new information, do you believe that Alice Marie Johnson should not have been pardoned with this new information?
And she is denying all that.
Yeah, great.
Because you are the same person, though, because you keep getting Tariq Nasheed and thinking that
I'm not confusing who this woman was. She came up at great length.
Every time I mention Tariq Nasheed, you think it's Islam, and it's not.
With somebody else. That's because I hardly deal with either one of them. This one I had to sit. You know how long a first-degree murder case where the death penalty is demanded lasts. It isn't coming in 2 or 3 days. I had to sit there hour after hour ruling on motions of what was admissible and not. And it came in front of me. And I know what I heard, and we went over it again and again with each case. We had 6 people charged with first-degree murder for doing a contract killing. that was in front of me. All right. Now, I know what I heard and I know what was going on. I gave you the rough details of the case, and we went over that 6 times for 6 different trials. Wound up, several people pled out, several people got life in the penitentiary for this, and her lieutenants were doing 10 years and 25 years on the federal case. She was the queen pin. She even used my language, which I find interesting because she wasn't using it before. I brought that up a long time ago, so somebody spread it. She's in Memphis right now, where I presume that there are a lot of people who would like to get a hold of her and kill her for past wrongs. She has been safe.
Is she still in Memphis, or is she in D.C. now? Because she worked in D.C.
Well, she was in Memphis, so Memphis is not a safe place for her. There was violent around here.
So you saying she lying about all that?
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Oh, well, let's put it this way. I will allege that the evidence alleged in front of me through 6 long first-degree murder matters was very incriminating. We couldn't do anything with her, though her name was out there, because she took the advantage of the Fifth Amendment and told everybody to go to hell. She had no statement. Her number one man who set the murders up or the kidnappings up took the Fifth Amendment, made no statement. One clown in there was bragging to a crackhead female about his part in this whole thing. She made a deal with the narcs to turn the clown in return for some leniency sold to her case. They went and got him. He punked out. He forgot about the Fifth Amendment like Fanny did and ran his mouth off trying to talk his way out of it and incriminated everybody else. They went out and they did the bust, but the people at the top said, we take the Fifth Amendment, go to hell, we've got nothing to say. And under American law, at least as it was applied in Tennessee, you cannot convict anybody through the uncorroborated evidence of an accomplice.
Mm-hmm.
So they had no corroboration outside of the statements, and the parties accused refused to talk about it. Now, various and sundry of the people who worked under her got 10 or 25 years in the federal penitentiary as their sentences for being part of her operation. Now, Kim Kardashian, I said, came up with this tale she got from somebody who was of the personal opinion that there was no crime that could ever be committed by involvement in the sale of drugs. So she listened to him. She got this woman brought to her attention. She brought it to Trump's attention. So that's how we wound up where we are. I don't agree with it. I think this is an egregious miscarriage of justice because the evidence that was presented to me was damning. This took place 38 years ago, and it was horrible. We listened to proof, day after day of proof of all of the crackheads and crack babies that came out of these drug transactions.
I'm in utter shock. I mean, I believe Judge Joe Brown. It was one of his cases. It was brought before him, all the evidence. He said the evidence was damning. I'm going to say alleged for all of this, but I believe Judge Joe Brown. I believe him. This was a mistake by the Trump administration. He should not have listened to President Trump in his first term. This was brought to President Trump by, I said, and Judge Joe Brown just said it. Kim Kardashian got a hold of it. She brought it to President Trump. President Trump acted. And I don't think he fully investigated anything. I don't believe he did. And now this woman is the pardon czar, who should still be in prison, in my opinion. If this is true, and I believe that it is, and I'm going to say allegedly, she's allegedly responsible for a lot of the crack the epidemic of crack babies. She is responsible, allegedly. Allegedly, she put out the hits on people. Allegedly, she was the queen pin. Allegedly, she was responsible for a lot of bad stuff, and she's going to act. She needs an Oscar. She needs an Oscar because she had me fooled. And I tell you again, I believe Judge Joe Brown. He was there. We weren't there. And I find him credible. And he is a Trump supporter, but he doesn't agree with what Trump did here. Wow. Wow. I cannot believe this. This woman needs to be in prison, allegedly. She needs to be locked up. She had the right amount of time. And oh, please tell me your comments. Please tell me what you think, because Republicans have a history of taking the shackles off of Black people in America, and Democrats have they have a history of putting the shackles on. The two parties are diametrically opposed to each other, but I am just flabbergasted. I cannot tell you how this has got me shook to my core, that this pardon czar should not have been pardoned. It's my opinion. And I believe Judge Joe Brown. Tell me what you all think. Thank you all so much for watching this video. Don't forget to smash like, comment, share, subscribe, hit all notifications so that you never, ever miss a video that I post. You all be blessed. Love God, your families, these United States of America, and march on, warriors.